Hello, you're watching Shalom World News. I'm Dana Villa from Chicago, USA. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. The Holy Father, Pope Francis, began his apostolic visit to the Democratic Republic of Congo on Tuesday, January 31st. He was given a rousing welcome at the patio of the majestic Palais de la Nation in the capital Kinshasa in the afternoon by President Felix Tshisekedi and members of the cabinet and military top brass. The Holy Father was accompanied by Vatican Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, and other key Holy See officials. After the customary guard of honor and exchange of pleasantries, both the Pope and the President proceeded to the Salle Presidentiale in the palace for closed-door discussions. After the meeting with the President, the Pope addressed members of the diplomatic corps and civil society. It was at 2:33 p.m. local time that the ITA Airways papal aircraft landed at the Djili International Airport in Kinshasa. Prime Minister Jean-Michel Sama-Lukonde Yenge welcomed the Pope on the tarmac and escorted him to the terminal where cabinet members and high-ranking officials paid their respects to the supreme leader of the Roman Catholic Church and head of the Vatican city-state. Congolese Cardinal Fridolin Ambongo and other prelates were also there at the airport to receive the Pope along with the Apostolic Nuncio. Vatican Secretary of State Cardinal Pietro Parolin expressed hope that the apostolic visit of Pope Francis to the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan would help in bringing an end to the violence that plagues both countries. In an interview with Vatican media, the Pope's presence could mark a turning point in the often tragic events in these countries. The Pope will be in Africa from Tuesday, January 31st through Sunday, February 5th, during his 40th apostolic visit, bringing the Word of God, the prospect of peace, and a call to dialogue to the people of both nations. As the successor of Peter, Pope Francis will be traveling with the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, and the Moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland, Iain Greenshields, to South Sudan in a pilgrimage with a strong ecumenical undertone. Cardinal Parolin said the visit will be an ecumenism of witness, demonstrating closeness to the alive and active local churches and communities. The Archbishop of Canterbury, the Most Reverend Justin Welby, has urged the faithful to join him in prayer for the people of the conflict-torn African nation of South Sudan as he gets ready to begin the Ecumenical Pilgrimage of Peace, there with Pope Francis and Dr. Iain Greenshields, Moderator of the Assembly of the Church of Scotland. The three leaders of the church will travel to South Sudan from February 3rd through February 5th. It will be the first time that the Supreme Pontiff is traveling with heads of other churches to the African continent. The primate of the Anglican Communion expressed his deep gratitude in a statement issued on Sunday for traveling to South Sudan with Pope Francis and Dr. Greenshields, noting that they had hoped for this trip for many years and that it had been delayed twice since 2018. The Ecumenical Pilgrimage of Peace is being undertaken, according to the Archbishop of Canterbury, quote, as servants to amplify the cries of the South Sudanese people, end quote, who continue to experience conflict, flooding, and famine. A plan to end employers' ability to protect Obamacare contraceptives mandate on moral grounds was unveiled by the Biden administration on Monday, January 30. Only the moral objection exemption would be repealed with this modification, while the religious exemption would still stand. The 2020 Little Sisters of the Poor versus Pennsylvania lawsuit in the Supreme Court guaranteed that religious employers objecting to contraceptives on religious grounds would not be forced to provide birth control in contradiction to their beliefs. The Health and Human Services, or HHS Department, estimated that the proposed rule change would impact more than 100 employers and 125,000 employees. The Biden administration's proposal would offer a new avenue for staff members of businesses who have religious objections to acquiring contraceptives with no out-of-pocket expenses while maintaining the policy of religious exemption. The Biden administration's change won't take effect until the completion of a 60-day public comment period, which is set to begin on February 2nd, when the proposal is filed in the Federal Register. Noted American pro-life activist Mark Houck, who was accused of federal assault charges coming from a shoving altercation outside an abortion clinic in Philadelphia, was found not guilty on Monday, January 30. Following the reading of the verdict in the U.S. District Court in Philadelphia, supporters of the Catholic father of 7 wept and embraced one another. Houck told reporters outside the courthouse that his acquittal was a relief and that he also felt overjoyed and fortunate. Without faith, he continued, we wouldn't have been able to achieve it. On October 13, 2021, 48-year-old Houck of Kintnersville in rural Bucks County, Pennsylvania, admitted to pushing a volunteer escort twice, although he insisted he did so because the clinic volunteer was verbally assaulting Houck's 12-year-old son. The U.S. Department of Justice intervened after the local authorities decided not to file charges, sending a group of FBI operatives to storm Houck's residence and arrest him in front of his scared wife and kids at gunpoint. The 3-day trial's testimony centered on whether Houck shoved Bruce Love, the 73-year-old clinic escort, since Love was rendering reproductive health services as specified by the FACE Act. 7 Continental assemblies are scheduled to take place by the end of March, according to a letter sent by the cardinals in charge of the Synod on Synodality to all bishops worldwide. Cardinals Mario Grech and Jean-Claude Hollerich stressed that the Synod of Bishops is not intended to address all topics being contested in the Church, in the letter that was made public by the Vatican on January 30. The discussion at the Continental Assemblies will be guided by a 44-page working document officially called the DCS, or the Document for Continental Stage. The Pope's chosen subject for the 16th Ordinary General Assembly of the Synod of Bishops is For a Synodal Church, Communion, Participation, Mission. Therefore, at each level of the process, there is only one theme that needs to be examined. In a letter dated January 26 and signed by Cardinals Grech and Hollerich, they emphasized that the themes outlined in the document guiding the Synod's continental phase discussions, quote, do not constitute the agenda, end quote, for the Assembly of the Synod of Bishops scheduled for October 2023. The U.S. government has issued a warning over the possibility of terror strike in Tanzania, an East African nation widely regarded being among the most tranquil in the area in light of the Islamic State's expansion in southern and eastern Africa. An advisory issued by the U.S. Embassy in Tanzania last week warns of the increasing potential for terrorists to target places like hotels, embassies, restaurants, malls, and places of worship, specifically naming the coastal town of Dar es Salaam. Locations frequented by U.S. citizens and other Westerners in Dar es Salaam and elsewhere in Tanzania continue to be attractive targets to terrorists planning to conduct attacks, reads the advisory. According to the U.S.-based persecution watchdog International Christian Concern, Tanzania has been penetrated by Islamic State jihadists from the Muslim-dominated region of Cabo Delgado in northern Mozambique. In Pakistan's Peshawar, a bomb blast in a mosque on January 30 has left at least 70 people dead and more than 150 injured. According to Reuters, citing the local police commander, several of the casualties were police personnel who had gathered for daily prayers. Over 300 people were inside the mosque at the time of the explosion, which took place near a police housing complex. During the afternoon prayers, a suicide bomber detonated himself in the police lines area at 1:40 p.m. It is suspected that the outlawed Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, is behind the explosion. As regards the perpetrator of the blast, conflicting information has surfaced. Mohammad Khorasani, a Tehrik-e-Taliban TTP spokesman for the Pakistani Taliban, denied any involvement in the attack. Khorasani said this is a statement that late in Monday, the TTP is a U.S.-designated foreign terrorist organization operating in both Afghanistan and Pakistan. Pakistan authorities say an investigation is underway and have not confirmed either claim. In response to the rampant secularism and Christophobic attacks in France, the faithful are uniting around Saint Joan of Arc, the Maid of Orleans, for a 9-year novena seeking renewal of the nation. It was started by a small group of believers in communion with the bishops at the end of 2022. France will pray for Saint Joan's intercession until the 6th centenary anniversary of her death in 2031 to revive the nation's vocation as the eldest daughter of the Church, and they are urging Catholics all over the world to join them. The 9 years will each concentrate on a different feature of Saint Joan's steadfast witness, aspects of which the French Catholic identity shares. France will celebrate Saint Joan's availability and obedience to God's will during the inaugural year. Themes based on Saint Joan's life and deeds will continue to be explored in subsequent years. The faithful will explore themes such as caution in 2024, courage in 2025, hope in 2026, patriotism in 2027, charity and justice in 2028, sacrament practice in 2029, purity in 2030, and patience in 2031. Pope Francis is inviting parishes to truly be communities in his prayer intention video for February. He said they should be sanctuaries of listening and welcoming, with doors that are always open to everyone, no one excluded. The Holy Father suggests that every parish should post a sign on their door reading "Free Admission" in the video, which opens with an image of the exterior of a stunning but empty church. This is followed by an image of the same church full of people, making it even more stunning. The Pope's Worldwide Prayer Network states in a press release that with these comments, Pope Francis wants to remind everyone of the fact that there are no entrance requirements since, as he says, parishes are not a club for the few, which grant a specific form of social membership. Parishes are close-knit communities, free of bureaucracy, people-centered, a location where the gift of the sacraments can be found, according to Pope Francis's vision. In his apostolic exhortation, Evangelii Gaudium, which was released at the start of his pontificate, Pope Francis emphasized the importance of the parish in bringing the church closer to the people. Hundreds of pro-lifers took part in the annual Texas Rally for Life at the Capitol in Austin on Saturday, January 28th. This is the first annual rally in Texas after the overturning of the Roe v. Wade ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court last year. Faith leaders and pro-life leaders from across the state participated in the rally. Texas pro-life Governor Greg Abbott was the keynote speaker at the Rally for Life, which was hosted by Texas Alliance for Life. All of you are lifesavers, and thousands of newborn babies are the result of your heroic efforts, Abbott told the pro-life crowd at the rally. In his message, the Texas governor highlighted the pro-life legislation passed by the state. Following the rally, there was a pro-life expo on the Capitol grounds. As part of his apostolic visit to the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Holy Father Pope Francis will celebrate Holy Mass at Ndolo Airport on Wednesday, February 1st in Kinshasa, the capital. Right after, he will be meeting with the victims of violence and insurgency from the eastern part of the country, followed by an interaction with representatives of some charitable organizations in the evening of the Apostolic Nunciature. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us tomorrow. In the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.